Hey, it's Melissa from Special Ed Law, Mom. It's been a while, but I wanted to come to you with another video. So I had an interesting phone call. I get people that contact me, and I'm really hopeful that I can help them. And this one caught me off guard. So it was a student that had medical issues, as all of us, if you're watching this channel, probably have a student like that, and you understand there's a lot that goes on with those. But this is a little bit different with this student because they had medical issues, they had an IEP, they had a health care plan for school, but mom didn't see the need to communicate with the school when the student wasn't going to be there. And it had been like this for several years, and I guess the teachers had been very accommodating. But for whatever reason, this year, that accommodating of mom not communicating wasn't working anymore. And so now that she wasn't communicating and the student showed up at school with a bruise on them that was concerning to a teacher, they contacted the Division of Child and Family Services, and they were sent out to the home to do a well check on the child. Now, overkill or not, students can show up with issues. I can't fault someone if they suspect that there's abuse going on. I would rather that they err on the side of caution than never say anything and something bad is happening to the child. So DCFS went out and supposedly closed the case right away. The student was quite is an adult now, still in the system, but functioning at a small child level. And so I'm sure that that played into quickly dismissing the claim. But you still have to communicate with the school. And the hardest part for me was every reason I heard of why the mom isn't communicating with the school. We've never had to. I don't feel well. I have my own issues. I shouldn't have to tell them what's going on. I've never had to tell them what's going on. It's too burdensome for me to tell them what's going on. He has a health plan. He has an IEP. Isn't that enough? Shouldn't that take care of the absences? And as much as I am pro family and pro, um, want to take care of the child, at the end of the day, mom and dad have a responsibility to communicate with the school. So my message to them and my message is to always, always, always keep communication open with the school. Even if you're in due process, even if you have a very hostile relationship, whatever it is, if your child's going to miss school, you need to let the school know why. And I have some tips on how to handle that if you have a child with a lot of medical issues. We had a great pediatrician who would write a yearly letter that basically said he trusted my opinion, and if I felt my student needed to stay home, then that was to be handled as an excused absence, and I would just communicate with the school of the need for that. That was a great letter. Not all pediatricians are willing to write a letter like that, but you need to have, if you've got a child with a lot of medical issues, you need to have communication regularly with those medical providers, and those medical providers need to be able to communicate with the school system so that you don't run into problems like this. But it's not that doctor's job to let the school know why Johnny's homesick that day, and it's not the school's job to call and find out why Johnny's home that sick that day. It's your job as mom and dad to communicate. One of the hardest things was this mom would say, well, he, this happens wherever he is. It doesn't matter if he's at school or he's at home. And they should just know that these things happen, that he has to have time to recover. And my response was, yes. And if that happened at school, all of those documents that you've mentioned, a health plan, an IEP, and whatnot, those are in place to help your student at school. But they don't know what happens with your student when they're home. And unless you call and tell them, they have no idea why they didn't show up the next day. And when it's a frequent thing, then it becomes a concerning thing. And so, unfortunately, if you're going to have your student in the public system, just like you want them to communicate with you about what happens there that can impact your child, you need to communicate with them about what's happening at home that is impacting your child and affecting their attendance. So, kind of a no-brainer. I was really caught off guard with this. I think a lot of us over communicate maybe. Um, but just know that no, there are not, IEPs do not override truancy laws. No, you should feel fortunate if you haven't had to do that in the past and suddenly have to. But communication both ways is critical for the success of the student and critical for you to not have them invoke other laws, such as truancy laws. So I hope that that's helpful. If you need any help, you can reach out to me. My contact information is below. And until next time, make it a great day. Thanks. Bye.